creators in the future will become and start to become their own storefronts. Part of that will involve Web3, the opportunity to continue what you're used to doing, but now it's made better for either it's less expensive to do, it's more transparent, it's quicker, whatever it is, through Web3.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to This is the Creator Economy. I'm Rob Dawson, CEO of Iovia. In this podcast, we discover new ideas and useful insights as we explore the creator economy with you. It's a podcast for brands who are looking to navigate this new world, for creators who want to create value with brands, and for others who are just curious about the possibilities the creator economy brings. Today, I recorded a conversation with Vinod Varma, the co-founder and CEO of Creator, a platform that connects brands and creators together. Vinod first witnessed the power of influencer marketing while launching new products for Fitbit, Samsung, Apple, and others, while at billion-dollar retailer Best Buy. Since 2016, he has worked with leading consumer and emerging brands to grow Creator into a top 3 ranked influencer marketing platform. Enjoy the podcast. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to This is the Creator Economy. I'm your host, Rob Dawson. This is our continuing series diving into the creator economy and learning lots about it. Today, I'm super excited to have my guest with me, Vinod, who is the co-founder and CEO of Creator. Welcome to the conversation.
Pleasure to be here, Rob. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Yeah, good to, I know we've had a bunch of chats offline, so it's good to get you onto the podcast and looking forward to the conversation. Maybe just to set the stage, tell us a bit about who you are and the work that you do at Creator.
Yeah, absolutely. So in a former life, I was responsible for launching new brands in Canada, particularly around the wearables category is where I really started to find my footing, I guess, as a marketing guy. And I was fortunate enough to launch some of the early generation Fitbit devices, Samsung, Apple iWatches, and there were a ton of brands before that as well. And that was kind of the first time I got to experience the power of influencers for the first time. And just how they were able to kind of capture market share, capture the right audience to begin, and then, in the long tail, have that result in market share. And that was kind of my inspiration to kind of bring that to tons of different brands instead of just the ones who could, afford it traditionally. Yeah, we ended up building Creator.co to help brands trade the products and services for very tailored social exposure at the heart of it. And then since then, we've evolved and become a little bit more community focused and diving into some of the cool projects as well. But yeah, that's kind of my background and the genesis, I guess, of Creator.co.
So you're really focused around connecting creators and brands together in the creator economy. Can you share with us, some of the interesting projects that you're worked on recently?
Yeah, so most recently, we really started launching what's called these experiential campaigns, which are focused at retail. With the restrictions going away and hopefully those that lasting for a while, we saw a huge need for retailers and vendors, brands to jumpstart that traffic and that engagement again. What we did is we strategically hyper-targeted influencers around certain locations. In the particular example I'll talk about is Superstore, which is a national Canadian grocery chain. They have just under 100 stores, I think, across the country. And what we did is we targeted influencers to go there and highlight and work with some of their vendors to essentially showcase where assortments are located in store, call out any sales or promotional activity that's going on within the stores, and then share that one through stories, so it's live and in person, having the brand be able to capture that content and then leverage it on their paid channels to drive conversion as the event is going on. And then when they get home or have that product, creating content that's more tailored to the actual product you purchased from Superstore. So, we kind of ran that as a full-on experiential campaign with multiple touch points, multiple pieces of content, and saw a huge increase in store traffic, basket attach, which is something that retailers measure quite closely. So people were spending more in the store as they were there. Very clear indicator of sales velocity. So if, that brand was selling 2 or 3 per store. They were selling 5 to 6 per store now. We'll just be able to, it's obviously very difficult to correlate what happens in the digital world with the brick and mortar world because of the disconnect. And you can't, put a real cookie on anyone and have them walk around the store. It was interesting to see the correlation because we had a really strong sample set before that campaign, and then we measured not only during the campaign, but the effective lift. And what we saw is, about a month or two after the campaign completes is when that momentum kind of cooled off. So there was definitely a long tail correlation.
Interesting. Yeah. And great that you're able to get some analytics around that as well and be able to measure the impact of what it is that you're doing. I see that you work a lot with retailers and SMBs and emerging companies. What are some of the particular opportunities that you see for them in the creator economy and how they can best leverage it?
Those brands are fairly underserved, I think. Not a lot of people are building programs for retailers, especially brick and mortar, to take advantage of the creator economy. Truthfully, I wouldn't be surprised if some retailers saw influencers as almost competitors because they're, brands are selling direct and using influencers as a channel and getting the cut. I think for retailers in particular, the goal is, we knew that retail was changing with the evolution of e-commerce, and that was happening during my days at Best Buy as well. And it was becoming more experiential, less about the number of boxes you can put out on display, more about how the displays communicated the features and benefits or the lifestyle benefits of the product or the brand. And you notice when you go into kind of the more modern retailers, there's a lot less product and boxes everywhere, and there's a lot larger, quasi in-store experiences or pop-ups and things like that
right,
create that differentiation between online and in-store. And I think that's why in-store is still a very healthy part of commerce in Canada and the US, is because consumers definitely enjoy touching and feeling and learning about products before they buy it.
Right.
It doesn't interfere with the convenience of getting it next day on an Amazon or Best Buy or whatever it might be. Focusing on and helping the retailers understand that if they can work with the creators to drive people into those stores and make those experiences better and have those experiences come to life through the influencers channels so more people want to go and
right.
it's all about. I think that's kind of a huge strategy it's difficult to scale and can be difficult to measure, but we've demonstrated small scale versions of it at Walmart, Superstore, Target in the US, and hopefully a few more later this year. But I think that's where retailers particularly have the most to gain, is really showcasing their in-store experience through the influencer channels and then leveraging that content to get more people into the actual stores.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting that you're connecting that digital experience to the in-store experience and kind of bringing those together. If you were advising a retailer or a brand today around what types of creators they should be working for and whatnot, what sort of advice would you give them around, finding that good fit of a creator to work with?
There's obviously the different tiers, and a lot of that depends on budget. If I was being asked the advice, I would definitely vouch on the side of a micro influencer. From a brick and mortar retailer perspective, there's going to be a lot more options that are closer to your store that would make sense for them to get there and create content and things like that. B, data shows that they're a lot more authentic and trustworthy, so people are more likely to believe them and potentially convert seeing that content over, celebrity-created content or brand-created content for that matter. So micro-influencers, for the fact that they're more authentic, probably higher chances of converting, and you're going to be able to more easily find them around, whether it's a 10K radius around your physical store. Further down is when you get in touch with that influencer, you begin your recruitment strategy, make sure you look at two key, characteristics of their social profiles that you wouldn't find on any vanity, front-facing recruiter, or most of them anyway. One is where the audience lives. So is the audience in line with the brand and the retailer itself in terms of, what do they do and what is the audience interested in, and can they all get to a store at some point? And then B is the amount of people their followers follow. So essentially it's an audience reachability score. And what that does is it tells you the easiest way I can give you an example is if, say I follow 1,500 people on Instagram and Rob, you follow 10 people. When you log on, you're almost 100% likely to see any organic content that they've posted. When I log on, I'm less than 20% likely to see any organic content because I follow so many people and the algorithm's pushing other types of content in my direction. If you can find people whose followers are easier to reach, in other words, they follow less people, you won't have to spend as much promoting the content outside of that.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
You'll basically get a good understanding if the organic post is going to reach them or not. And what you'll see is sometimes it's very difficult to organically reach an audience because we all follow so many people and digest so many pieces of content. Brands have to understand that putting a promotional spend behind certain pieces of content, depending on that audience reachability score, is going to be important if we want to actually truly reach the audience and gain a sense of the value of being in front of that audience through that influencer.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting that you make that distinction between a celebrity influencer and a micro influencer. So much of our work has been around harnessing the capabilities of real brand fans and micro influencers and micro creators. Are you seeing that as like the big opportunity for a lot of your brands that you're working with?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, fandom and community is key in today's world. And I think with the emergence of Web3, it becomes even that more important for brands and retailers to understand that owning their community and first of all, building, and then secondly, owning their community is going to be key as the internet starts to be disrupted through technology, the blockchain technology.
So I really like how you're like bridging the gap between creators and brands. I imagine that it would be difficult for a brand to kind of do a lot of this on their own or organically. What challenges are you helping them overcome at Creator?
From the data that we understand, the two biggest time sucks from doing influencer campaigns is one is finding and recruiting the influencers. That takes a lot of time. And we offer, Creator who kind of solves that problem where we understand the profile, the needs of the campaign, and then can kind of automate recruitment for brands. And then secondly is managing them. And that's difficult for a bunch of different reasons. One is, if you're dealing with micro influencers, you're dealing with individuals who, you don't have the chance to interview their communication skills like you would for a job. You're there because you believe their community has value. Managing creators from the whole spectrum, from whether micro influencers, because there's going to be a lot of them for the campaign to be effective. And that means communicating with a lot of different people with different communication styles. So that can take a while to get used to, and it typically does take a dedicated manager. And then the other side is when you deal with macro or larger influencers, you're going through an agent, which can, result in its own kind of friction in that type of relationship. So, between finding the creators and vetting them and actually managing them, that's kind of the two biggest headaches that we see. And we offer the automation of the recruitment, and then we offer account managers to help actually manage campaigns from fulfillment to execution as well.
Interesting. And then what about from the creator's perspective? I mean, if for somebody who's thinking of becoming a creator, or maybe they're already doing some things organically themselves, what advice do you have for somebody that's wanting to get into the game?
We think there's 50 million amateur creators out there that are aspiring to, use it as a side gig or maybe evolve into, a full-time content creator and their dreams come true. But if I was giving advice, it would be authentic, be careful about, be cognitive of delivering a consistent message when you're getting started. And because I say that because I think it's that consistency and that constant, beat of your drum as a brand that's going to draw people and audiences towards you. And when you get those people that are drawn towards you and you're able to speak in a consistent tone that provides value to them, that's when you're going to be able to build campaigns that's when you're going to be able to become sought after by brands because they understand you have that unique relationship. So be authentic, be consistent, and build it build your audience the right way and have fun with it.
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah.
important part.
Yeah. And there's great examples of creators that have, built on a particular talent that they have, or they have an interest in a particular area, and then they just leverage it into, becoming famous for that. One of the things that, as we've worked with brands that we often advise them is to kind of let go control a little bit and to be very collaborative. And you mentioned, creators being authentic in the content that they're creating and whatnot. Just wondering if you have any comments around the idea of true collaboration between brand and creator.
Yeah, I think it needs to be true collaboration. One of the, you don't work with influencers because you're interested in billboard marketing, because then you can just get billboards and who cares, or do placement ads. I think it's, understanding that the creators are used to speaking to their audience, understands what makes their audience engaged, is key for brands. And some brands have difficulties letting that go, that, they feel it should come off a certain way when, in reality, it shouldn't. It should be authentic. That's the whole point of influencer marketing. So I think that, brands are learning this, and I think it's typically the bigger brands that are more concerned about it, whereas the smaller challenger brands are okay with having people be authentic because they feel authenticity is a part of their identity as well. So it's definitely a two-sided effort, where I think the brand needs to give guidance on what's worked, what certain words or phrases work to get the engagement that they've experienced, but let the influencer, put their spin on it.
And then again, as a creator, I imagine there's different rewards and recognition that you can get for, working with a brand and creating content or ideas or products with them. Any interesting things that you've seen around kind of rewards, value recognition that have really worked quite well?
On the creator side?
Yeah, ways that creators can basically earn in the creator economy, or value that they can gain in the creator economy.
Yeah, so we do a ton of everything from gifted campaigns to obviously full-on paid campaigns. As you move down and evolve, if you have a good relationship with the brand, and inquiring about becoming an affiliate with them, so essentially, playing a part of their success if you are, or you earning a cut of the success that you're driving essentially as a creator. So from gifted, gifted is kind of where your influencing career starts, and as you gain traction, you start to get paid to create that content, and then as you develop relationships with brands, you might get invited to become an affiliate or an ambassador for them, and that's kind of the evolution. Web3 evolves, there's going to be opportunities for new types of earnings, different ways to collect recognition and rewards, whether that be through NFTs that give influencers access to certain things, events or webinars or whatever it might be, or prizes. I think it's definitely about to open up as with Web3.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. Creators should be too.
Interesting to hear how you sort of have this continuum of earning through gifting, or, some sort of paid, to becoming an ambassador, to becoming, really an affiliate, and having a long-term relationship with a brand. In some of the recent research and strategy work that we did, we found that those long-term relationships are really being sought not only by creators, but also by brands as well. And are you seeing similar things in terms of some of those long-standing relationships forming?
Absolutely, yeah. I think brands are starting to your point, really understand the benefit of those relationships, because when they truly and really like you, there's content that's going out on dark social that brands can't realize is happening, and when the influencer really enjoys you, or authentically believes in what you're building as a brand, that transcends social media.
And an opportunity for that, creator to be a real advocate for the brand in ways that the brand couldn't be themselves, right?
Exactly.
It sounds somewhat self-serving if it's coming from your own voice, but if people are advocating for you, then it has that much more credibility.
Yeah, it really humanizes the brand, which does some amazing things to help reduce those trust barriers that initial consumers have.
We're going to pause here for a quick break. You touched on Web3 and definitely want to dive into some of the emerging technologies that you're seeing and what you're seeing for the future of the creator economy when we come back. You're listening to This is the Creator Economy. For the second part of my conversation with Vinod, we discussed how the creator economy is scaling through technology and the many opportunities this presents as an evolution of the gig economy. So welcome back, everybody, to This is the Creator Economy. I'm here with Vinod Varma, who is the CEO of Creator. Really enjoying the conversation, Vinod. Would love to look into the crystal ball and see, what you see emerging in the creator economy right now. Where's this all going, do you think?
We've kind of dropped a few Web3, hints through the conversation. I really do think that's going to play a big part of adding a layer to the creator economy. In a sentence, creators in the future will become and start to become their own storefronts. I think that's a very easy to understand future for the creator economy. Part of that will involve Web3. Now it remains to be determined, but I think that the bubble popping here has opened up the opportunity to continue what you're used to doing, but now it's made better for either it's less expensive to do, it's more transparent, it's quicker, whatever it is, through Web3. I think the future is creators becoming more independent, taking control of their income, really seeing themselves as a destination for their audience to purchase products and brands that align with their area of expertise or their niche, whatever it is that they talk about. And I think with NFTs and tokens and crypto coming around, I think that'll just enhance that experience altogether, where how creators can not only earn but also reward their fans and give their fans exclusive access. Creators will become their own brand while helping other brands in that mix. And it's going to be a mix of Web2 e-commerce that'll be familiar and for a long time, and we'll adding Web3 components in there where it makes sense as they get more creative and innovative with the technology.
Yeah. Well, and we're seeing indications of this already. I mean, there's lots of examples of the combination of NFTs and physical products. I saw something come across my news feed this week. Azuki is selling skateboards with chips embedded in them, and there's a corresponding NFT to that skateboard and a digital experience around that. And I think they're selling around in the hundreds of thousands of dollars and upwards of $1 million. That hybrid of a physical asset in the real world and then a digital asset in the virtual world. It's pretty inspiring to see some of these examples.
What I love seeing are legitimate brands trying something. And I do think, the free NFT giveaway is a natural start, because let's be real, most of their customers don't even have a Web3 wallet. So, what a great incentive. Hey, I'm going to give you something free. You help kind of create that initial reason for them to open that Web3 wallet. And then it'll be a lot easier to put more things in it and work with it in the future.
One of the things that we promise in this podcast is that we try and keep it simple for people and help them understand some of these emerging technologies. I'm curious to get your take on, how you define Web3 and what is Web3 in kind of layman's terms to you.
I think Web3 is just like the internet on a transparent ledger. And in order for it to work, it needs to balance. Computers or people are rewarded for making sure that it balances. I think at the end of the day, I don't think the technology goes beyond what the internet does today right now, but it's a more efficient way of doing it. It's a transparent way of doing it. And you remove some of the friction that Web2 has being so centralized today and so controlled. So, I think I try to always bring, I think it's easy to see the use case of NFTs for things like tickets or coupons, gift cards, and all of it makes a lot of sense. And when you start to uncover it, I think Web3 or crypto and NFTs, those words scare people maybe a little bit today or make them nervous because they don't totally understand it. But when you start to break it down and then you start to realize it's anything you can do on Web 2, you can pretty much do on Web 3. And it's really, people have to think about, does it make sense to do it on, like, does the benefits of Web 3 being touchless, faster, decentralized, make that Web 2 thing better or not?
Yeah.
And when it does, then there's use case and there's reason that it makes sense. And when it doesn't, the yellow pages on blockchain isn't going to do much of anything. So who cares? Ticketmaster on blockchain makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, imagine the possibilities, right? And how it could simplify a lot of those transactions that are happening out there. But you're right. I mean, you touched on this, like to a lot of people, it can be scary, right? It's the unknown. It's, there's been a lot of hype around crypto in particular. And, that underlying blockchain technology has tons of applications. Do you see it? And this is maybe a rhetorical question, but do you see it here to stay, or is this, crypto thing just a passing fad that's going away?
I think the inflated NFTs, based on an inexperienced artist's artwork is not going to be the future. I do think the underlying technology and how we can use it is definitely here to stay. I think people kind of realize there's a bit of stupidity in it. The real believers and the people who understand technology, I think, still understand that there's still so much potential. We're just in the parking lot.
So you see a lot of opportunity for creators in this new Web3 metaverse world?
Yeah, I think more than ever before, because there's nothing stopping them from owning their communities from start to finish. There's nothing stopping them from, because of the transparency, the inherent transparency of blockchain. If something exists out there, they'll be able to use it, clone it, develop their own applications on it, and own those applications, and won't be subject to the rules and regulations of Instagram, and we're violating terms that people feel they shouldn't have been. Their accounts shouldn't have been shut down, or they should be earning more of what they're actually earning from the layer one social media sites and things like that. So yeah, I think it's going to disrupt I think it's going to disrupt social media and make people kind of more their own publishers. Definitely the future. I'm excited to see how it plans out. I know I'm not going to be the one that builds the apps for it, but I want to be the one supporting the ones that do.
You talk about disruption, and of course, many of those social platforms and digital platforms before them came out and disrupted a very traditional economy that preceded it. Are you seeing that, the Facebooks, Instagrams, Snap, TikToks of the world, are they about to be disrupted as well because of what's coming with Web3?
Well, I mean, Facebook changed their name because I think they knew what was coming. So I'm sure they're all working on it. I know Instagram, I think, is dropping a feature that will allow some creators to mint their content into an NFT. So I think it's about putting a few reels in the water right now and seeing how creators bite and what gets the most attention from use cases. Because I think a lot of people who don't understand the technology or haven't got into it yet are still trying to uncover, like, okay, this is what I do as an influencer, as a creator. Where does Web3 really fit in for me? And I think that question, there's a bunch of different forms in the road, and I think that the social media platforms will put their reels in to see who bites, and then it won't be long before new social media platforms come based on those learnings. Right.
And is your model then to continually keep tabs on that and to adapt as the platforms change?
Absolutely, yeah. We want to be with the creator economy, where influencers or creators are interested in exploring or earning more money or collaborating. We want to be there.
Yes, yeah, that's great. I mean, and you and I have talked, and you've had some great traction so far. I mean, you've experienced some good growth over the last couple of years, and in terms of the number of creators you're working with, number of brands you're working with, and obviously the revenue modeling around that. Where's this all going for Creator?
To the moon. I feel we've got a good grip on who our core users are. And I think if we stay focused on helping those two groups of those challenger brands and those aspiring influencers, then there's a lot of synergy between those two parties. And if we can build features and products to remove friction between them and make collaborations more profitable for both, then I think we're going to be a force in the creator economy for those user groups.
Interesting. Well, that's great. It's a great trajectory that you're on right now, and an interesting story around what it is that you're building. Also, maybe just touch on. I just want to touch on something with creators again. I interviewed a guest a couple of weeks ago, and she was talking about how becoming a creator is a viable business and career opportunity for many. Many Gen Zs and the generations to come. Is that something that you see as well, and that you're kind of harnessing at Creator?
Yeah, I would think it was 58% of Americans aged 13 to 35 would become an influencer if they had the chance. So I read another article that was the most number one requested course in universities and high schools, how to become an influencer. So I think the trend's not going away. I think people are just, it's in line with the gig economy, right? It's they've segmented it and called it the creator economy, but if you look at the overlying umbrella, it really is the gig economy, and people want to be in charge of what they make and more responsible for it and do it on their terms. And I think that complements the creator's lifestyle very well. And thankfully, they have the ability to connect with an audience, which pulls them a little bit away of the traditional gig economy, which is a little bit more labor intensive. And puts them in the creator economy, which is focusing on their skills around content creation and speaking to an audience.
So the creator economy really is the economy of the future, the way that you're describing it, right? If this is a kind of an advent of the gig economy, this is the way things are going.
I think it's going to be one of the biggest cogs in the marketing wheel in the future, for sure. I think brands that are thinking about it are going to be missing out in a big way as the industry evolves.
So what does that mean for, if you think of traditional marketing or advertising agencies, what does that mean for them, and how can you help them in the work that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's awesome for them because it's going to be a new stream of revenue as they start to offer it as a scalable solution for their clients. I think that's one thing that holds agencies back from offering it is without tools or technology, it is quite labor intensive. So we help by providing kind of the base of our technology for them to build campaigns that can scale. So that's how we want to support them. And I think where we're evolving is we want to help them, give them some guidance on strategies to run with their clients and how to set up KPIs to measure success. And so really becoming kind of a tool for agencies to use and a resource for agencies to use so that they can invite their clients and help their clients run successful influencer campaigns just like they do with media.
So you're quite collaborative in terms of how you're approaching this market.
Absolutely. Yeah. We want to be the hub, but we want to be seen as a resource when it comes to influencer marketing and SMBs, promoting products through influencers, whether that's top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. And agencies are a big part of that because, there's a ton of brands that trust agencies, and rightfully so. And if we can make influencer marketing more accessible to the agencies, the brands will benefit. At the end of the day, that's
I'll give you an opportunity. I don't know if there's anything that you particularly want to touch on in this conversation. I feel like I've been peppering you with questions the whole way through. Anything that comes to mind that you'd like to tell our audience?
Oh, now we're on the spot. I wanted to ask you how you felt, because you've done some great work building some wicked communities for some really well-known brands.
Right.
How you feel or how you've experienced the community building aspect relate to the creator economy and kind of influencer marketing in general?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really feel this is a natural evolution that's happening, right? So if you look at the work that we've done. We started in the crowdsourcing space, which was, bringing groups of people together to create things. We then moved into community. And as you've said, we've built some amazing communities for some amazing brands over the years. But those communities were always about creating value of some sort, right? Mm-hmm. So whether that was social media content or whether it was new products, as is the case with Lego Ideas, or if it was advocating for a particular, target market or audience or building out an audience. We did some amazing work with IKEA, with Gen Z, and having them, do things that you described that you're doing at Creator, which was to send them into stores and to record, video and photos of themselves going through that shopping experience, right? And we did that in a community kind of context. So to me, it's all a natural evolution. I'm super excited about the creator economy because there's now emerging technologies that can be leveraged to scale it, as you said. So connecting brands and creators at scale, being able to monetize, in doing that, being able to manage campaigns in real time. So it's super exciting stuff. And then of course we get into Web3 and NFTs and virtual worlds. And again, those are communities. They're communities that are usually established around some sort of purpose or, passion or interest. And there's lots of ways for brands to connect with their fans and lots of ways for value to be created, both for the brand, the creator, and whoever's facilitating those conversations too. So it's a natural evolution of what we've been working on for, well over a decade now.
Yeah, no, I think the community building aspect is super important because it's not just the one and done influencer. It's really about, building a tribe and generating that fandom.
It can be done with a lot less friction than it maybe previously because of, emerging technologies and because of it becoming more mainstream, both for brands and for consumers. Years ago, a consumer probably wouldn't think about, seriously creating advertising content or social content or marketing content for a brand, let alone, a product or whatnot. But now it's very natural, right? And I think there's been an evolution of, let's call it consumerism too, in that consumers are very much wanting to have impact with the brands that they're working with. They want to have impact in the world themselves too, right? Around sustainability and making healthy choices and good product decisions. And this whole idea of the creator economy wraps around that, right? I have two daughters who have chosen to be vegan, and many of their, daily consumption decisions are around engaging with brands that support that lifestyle and that also are doing it in a sustainable way, right? Yeah. And it's just becoming commonplace now. Whereas, not so many years ago, I think consumers were more around, just price and value and selection or whatnot. And now there's so many more variables out there, right? Yeah. I think we could probably talk for days if we wanted to, and maybe we'll have that opportunity in the future. But Vinod, I really want to thank you for joining the podcast. It's been a good conversation. It's great to learn more about what you're doing at Creator and your perspective on this whole creator economy. So thank you.
Thanks for having me, Rob. Appreciate you.